Welcome back to the channel. We are back from Drifting the Plains 3. We have a few things to do to prep the car before Drifting the Plains 4, which Drifting the Plains 4 is the final points event of the series. The few things we have to do today, going from top to the bottom, top being the most important thing or the top priority to fix first, and then so on and so forth down the road. First, we have a little bit of a handbrake repair. The second thing we have to address is more of just a nuisance than anything. There's a crack right on the back of the flange, right behind the turbo. The next item I'm going to address is the rear sway bar end links. Finally, piggybacking off the sway bar end link, the rear control arm is stock, the upper and the lower. So I'm going to attempt to possibly modify my upper control arm to take some of my camber out of the rear of the car. We're going to get right into it today and tackle top of the list. Alright, so basically what I have to do here is take off these two Allen key bolts and then hopefully get this thing to flop over, out of the way, get this rubber boot out of here first. We'll move on to the next step here. So, we'll try and get these out of here. Alright, so looking at it now, with that out of the way, you can kind of see how bent this actually is, because it should be straight up and down with this portion here, and it's just like off to the side. We're going to leave it off kind of like that. I'm going to clean it up a little bit and then throw a weld over here and then maybe something more over here. But we'll give it a shot. So for right now, we're just going to do the bare minimum to make this thing work for this last event. And then I'll pull out the whole bracket and basically do like a rebuild thing on it. Next item of business, downpipe exhaust repair. Alright, so I went to kind of loosen these up a little bit. And a little concerning, they're not really tight. This one is pretty toasted. I mean, they're all toasted. I mean, who are we kidding? Gasket is pretty crushed, but I think it's still all right. And there's the downpipe. So I cleaned it up a little bit here. I put a couple of yellow marks of how long I actually need to weld. It's basically this whole driver's side portion. So the crack kind of moves up and around away from the weld and then back into the weld itself. Along with out here, it's along the side of the weld here, goes into the middle of the weld, and then it's covered up by this not so good weld that I just slapped on there quick. Got the downpipe crack welded from the inside. You can kind of see it right there. Not super pretty, but hey, it's on the inside so you can't see it. But it doesn't look super pretty on the outside either. You can see plenty of penetration. It's melting right into that material, but it's not the cleanest welds because it's not the right type of gas for stainless, but it still works. Got the gasket back on here. I did get the studs put on here. You just finger tighten them, and then when you tighten down and torque down the nuts, it torques the threads on the inside as well. Just drop this back in here. There we go. We will get the V-band pretty close to tighten before we fully snug everything down. I might have to add one to the list, tighten up the serpentine belt. Alright, so I don't know if you can see that the AFR gauge is reading kind of rich right now. I just started it up, cold start, so it's going to be rich until it kind of clears out the warm-up enrichment. Yeah, it seems like it's fine. There's not really much leaks or anything up front, so I'm going to call that good, and we're going to move on to the next thing. So I'll show you what we're going to be working with here, or trying to get removed. So this bolt right here, yeah, so that came off really easy. Perfect. And then all I have to do is just zip tie it. All right, and there you have it. One end link is zip tied up out of the way. Even though I took this bolt out of the sway bar end link, doesn't mean I'm just gonna toss this either. Maybe come next weekend I don't like how the car feels without this sway bar end link in the car. So I'll hang on to this, throw this in my toolbox right down here. So I'll have it when I go to the track. We are just about ready to wrap it up for the day. I am just giving you a look at the upper control arm here. So it's going to be a little easier than I thought. In the front, this wishbone piece actually goes around the coilover, and in the rear, the control arm sits a little bit in front of the coilover, which is going to make it a lot easier for getting this in and out. But there's a lot of measurements that I have to do before taking that out and before I make any type of cuts on the control arm and change everything. What I have to do, quick rundown on that, basically set the car down. I'm going to take measurements and use a big carpenter square on the concrete just to eyeball the camber, because I don't have an alignment rack here, so I just have to have a reference point to go off of where it is right now. And then basically I'm just going to try and push out the top tire and pay attention to my alignment. So like the toe, I have toe plates, so I'll just measure that out. I already know I'm an 1/8 inch toe in, so I might just pull that back to 0, just so I have some adjustment after the fact. I don't know if pushing out the top is going to change the toe at all. I'm guessing it might. I mean, if it does, cool, because I want to toe it in just a little bit more. But as of right now, that's what we're going to do. And we'll kind of jump back into it maybe tomorrow, and I'll show you that when we get to it. So before I end out the video here, we can wipe off the top 2, or technically the top 3, because they're all taken care of, all ready to go for next weekend. We repaired, or temporarily repaired, the handbrake, got that welded better than it was from the track. I also removed the downpipe and re-welded that from the inside so that I could lay plenty of weld and it not interfere with the bolts. I also just did the sway bar end link in the back and disconnected that. So that just leaves the rear control arm modification for another day. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.